Hello? Is that working? Oh. That appears to now be working. Apparently, I think. Okay, so, the microphone's done its normal fun thing of resetting itself. Okay, that's fun. And now let's take the running screen off. Hello, everyone. I'm going to see if I can get the chat working at all. The Wi-Fi connection is not the world's greatest here at the Mercure Hotel Yokosuka, but we'll see what we can do. See what we can do. I am not sure if I'm both on Twitch and on YouTube working, but I hope I am. I am. Let's see. Gonna do this. My plan is to basically do this during the early part of breakfast, and hopefully, that won't annoy anyone too much. Good on both. That's good. Right, and I have my phone here so I can see questions if they're put in the question system. And I'm going to try and activate Discord as well so I can listen to, hopefully, the usual panelists. We'll see if this all works. It is 6 a.m. my time. I am not late by my time, but according to system, I am late because I managed to get the numbers wrong. I don't know how. Hopefully next week won't have the same issue. Oh, cool, Vault Boy. Thank you. We're basically, this is a lot of fun. And oh, thank you, Steve. Already got some questions in there. So I'm going to start working through those. I'm just going to see if I can get Discord working on the laptop as well, so that the people who tend to log in and we hear as a voice can be here as a voice. I have worked out something. It doesn't like the Bruships regular stage. So basically, we're in the legacy Bruship stage for those who are wondering. Those who have access to it. That's where I am in. On Discord. It doesn't like the regular stage. As you can see, I sort of freeze and things go wrong. Now, yes, Yokosuka. Oh, there we go. I just stopped some of the crackling. Thank you, Mission. How's Monday? I want to plan ahead for tomorrow. Well, that's the fun thing, because technically I am Monday morning. This is Monday morning breakfast time. I know Fleet's already talked about this, and I've been talking a bit more about how the sausage is made on this ship-shape trip. But we have a habit of getting up early, having an early breakfast, then prepping for the day ahead, and then going out. What I'm doing today instead is I've got up really early. Didn't really sleep much anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, we're doing this instead of getting the early breakfast, and I'm gonna get later breakfast as I get out there. Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. There's a lot of fun going on. There's a lot of stuff to be done. It's a lot of cool times. It is a lot of cool times. Yeah, so far breakfast has been a lot of bacon for me, and also burgers here. They do very nice little burgers here. And you might have noticed there's a poll gun live on the community section, which is about whether or not I should get a giant stuffed submarine, a submarine plushie, which is, I kid you not, Dr. Dan's showing me a smaller one. He's got the baby one, which he's bought himself. And there's a big one, which is about so big. And I've been considering getting it. My favourite food so far. Now, I've tried a bit more than my colleagues have, I have to admit, because I've tried some of the late night stuff when I've been wandering around Tokyo, especially. Because I don't think I slept more than like nights while I was in Tokyo. And I did about 3 or 4 hours each night. As you all know, I don't need sleep, which is the fun thing. My colleagues are have basically all agreed I'm a mutant on this trip because they've all been suffering quite severely from jet lag, and there's me going, carry on. Push, you all do this, you all do this, push, push. And they're going, why do you not need sleep? I'm going, mutant, happy. Yakitori, Yakitori, I think it was, which was quite nice. Quite nice. I've been enjoying the Japanese barbecue, the Korean barbecue. It's been both less expensive and more expensive than I thought it was going to be. But it's been nice. And Mr. Donuts have been lovely. There are like 5 Mr. Donuts in this place, in Yokosuka, and I think they're all gorgeous. I have really become a big fan of Mr. Donut. There's no Iron Brew, not found any Iron Brew, but Mr. Donut has been something which I've been quite enjoying finding, and they've been very, very nice. Very good staff, happy to help. I'd also say we found near Mikasa somewhere called the Mikasa Cafe, not far from my hotel either. Just excellent burgers. And how can I tell you those excellent burgers? Well, because US Navy personnel were coming in and buying the burgers as well. So in my view is, when it comes to Japanese food, if the Japanese are buying, if there's a lot of Japanese in there buying, it's probably a pretty good place. If it comes to burgers, if there's a lot of Americans in there buying, it's probably a fairly good burger joint. Sorry, you can barely hear me. I will turn that up to maximum. And hopefully that'll work. I don't know why it suddenly decided to go quiet on me. But it has. I'm not sure why. I think it's something to do with the, probably something to do with the transmission. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sorry if it's a bit quiet. It shouldn't be. It should not be. Transmission seems to be about fine. I've turned them up as high as they can, and I've made sure everything's plugged in as much as it can be. No weight on the cables, and it's pointed about directly at me, so can't really do much more, I'm sorry. The rooms are also designed to deaden noise, I swear, in this place. I do think they are designed to deaden noise. I've noticed that because it's been a very, very quiet hotel the whole time, so I think they've got some noise deadening functioning into the walls. What is the map behind me? Not really a map, it's an old painting. Seems to be almost every single room on this, in this hotel. Every room seems to be laid out the same, and I've noticed my colleagues have pretty much the same paintings in their rooms as I do. Steaks in Japan served on a hot plates. Ooh. Yeah. American ships are mostly Burks. There is a Taiko. The Japanese have one of their LPDs in here. They have quite a few of their destroyers, and there's a fair number of subs. I'm now louder. That's good. That is good. With me now being louder and us being fairly happy, I will start with some questions. Now, as I said, I'm only going to do to about 8 o'clock my time, which is in about an hour and 45 minutes. We might do all sorts of things, Timo. We would love to do all sorts of things. We really would love to do all sorts of things. But yeah, I am currently going to apologise for being an hour later than I thought I was going to be. I don't know why I thought we're 9 hours ahead. I did the maths on the phone and everything, and I was going, yeah, I programmed it incorrectly, and I'd actually programmed it in wrong. So, how's the food in Japan? This is from, I think, from Timu and Leslie. The food in Japan has been really good. Really, really good. Lots of very nice food. I said I've tried yakitori. That was pretty darn nice. I've enjoyed the noodles and the ramen. There is a slightly different scenario, you know. Most it's ramen, but occasionally if you find soba or a few other things, then they're called noodles. It's quite funny to me how well I can do in Japan with very limited knowledge of Japanese, but the ability to say yes or no and point at things, and that's something which I found incredibly easy for wandering around. It's very easy, and Japanese people are very friendly and helpful. I will say this though, it does scare you when you're going to a cash machine and you do need cash. I cannot emphasize this more in Japan. And the smallest you can get out is 10,000 yen, which is about 50 quid. And you're going, oh, oh. You know, I'm used to Britain where I basically don't carry cash on me. It's pretty much a cashless society now. It's all click on in and just tap your card. It's very rare I carry cash on me, and now I'm having to get used to carrying cash again. Yokosuka is certainly one of the largest naval bases in the world, but there's also there's quite a lot of other things here. And I said, have I found iron brew? No, no, I haven't found iron brew at all. I've been looking quite hard. Let's say everyone, if the British had built a total of 110 New Zealand Lake-class based Lock-class IPVs for the naval reserves between 2005 and 2025, what bases would the fleet be split across? Well, if they're building that many of patrol vessels, etc., they'd be split around all the world, wouldn't they? Because they're building 110. You're going to put them into groups of probably squadrons of roughly 8, and have some spare vessels going for spare duties. So if you consider the squadrons of 8, got in 110, I do say this in 110, you have got roughly 13 plus 6 spares, which is fine because the 6 spares could be doing things like, probably would be doing something to the SSBN force, extra security for them. But so with 13 squadrons, where do you put them round? Probably put them a couple here, a couple there, a couple everywhere. You've got probably about, I would say, probably 4 complete squadrons sitting in the UK, plus the 6 that's where you fire. Those are. Then you've got 9 squadrons to put around the world, so probably 1 in the Falklands, 1 in Gibraltar, 1 in one in Singapore, 1 in Australia, 1 in New Zealand to assist there. Probably talking about 1 operating out of Bahrain. Probably going to have, you're going to spread them around to give yourself coverage and easy patrol presence. Yeah, basically, 4.5 of the 4 squadrons plus 6 will do. The 38 vessels deployed around the UK will not just do UK patrol, they'll do fisheries protection, they'll do all sorts of things around it. These patrol squadrons will do a mixture of that wherever they are. Yeah. Yes, we are traveling with yes, me and Drac are traveling together on the strip. We are having our normal fun of that. And yes, water. Actually, speaking of water, I need liquid. So if you don't mind, I'm going to grab from the fridge. E-bicon. Coke. It's the only thing I can find around. They'll be doing all sorts of things, and probably have a couple of squadrons which you sort of keep loosely attached to other area commands, but actually do distance. Like you'd want a squadron in the Caribbean, but where you would officially base that from will be an interesting thing. I also put 1 up in Halifax and 1 in Vancouver to assist the Canadians. Right. Now take everyone. As a historian, is it accurate to say that battlecruisers should be remembered as, despite a few bad designs, it is ultimately well worth the investment put in? Yeah, for that time they were certainly worth it. It's one of those things of, you need speed. And that's the best way you can get speed until you can't. Until, things come along which make that not speed not necessarily a worthwhile investment for ships, but it has historically been. Because it used to be speed was the commanding thing which could decide engagements. Once your engagement distance and speed is designed by the aircraft one side's carrying all the missiles, then suddenly, well, I can do 32 knots. Yes, but my missile can do 400. the relative things start to change. And it's like Fleet's doing a great work coming up on it, something I'm going to tease but not actually talk much about, on active versus passive defense and its value. And basically the forms have changed a lot over the years of what they can do and what they will do. And it's always been darn interesting how they've approached things. But the thing is, these changes adjust the context around them. If you suddenly found yourself with ships which could do an incredibly high speed, let's say you had ships which could do 300 knots, then suddenly you could go, ooh, well, yeah, your missile might do 400, but it's got this range. Will you be able to get to me before I get out of that range? Will you? But yeah, battlecruisers are products of their time, make perfect sense in their time. Paul Ennis, what do you think of the recent Grey Fleet disposal of drones and the French arrest of Master of the Coasters? On the French arrest of the Master of the Coasters and Nazaire, I haven't read into that in enough details. I haven't been able to keep up enough track on that one. On the Grey Fleet disposal of drones, it doesn't surprise me. At a certain point, it doesn't surprise me. Because the generational change and developments of things means that, honestly, early generations of drones, and I think drones still to an extent, are going to be disposable assets and are going to be churned through rather quickly. Especially as a lot of things are developing, because there's kind of two seeds of drone development. Ones which are seeking to actually replace crewed aircraft, and the ones which are seeking to basically replace people in some of the functions they do in operations. It's like considered the really small nano drones, and they have a really quick churn through, or basically are replacing reconnaissance. They are replacing, rather than having a person physically walk through a building, you have a little mini drone fly through and go, where are you? And that's sensible. Why do you want to be going into a place? Why do you want to be going into a place without knowing where your opponents are? If I'm doing this stuff, I want to know where my opponents are. I want to know where they are, and I want to know what they're armed with. We're hoping to visit all the museums in Korea. But I know what Drac is really hoping we visit. And so far, the people who've been assisting us in organising parts of the visits have been very good on promises, have certainly been trying hard to deliver, but have not delivered all they promised. But they've tried hard, so I'm trying to work with them, and I'm hoping that that's a bit thought out. Yeah, let's put it this way: drones are very useful in avoiding having Gary powers. And also, I do worry with drones to an extent, in that we are now talking about uncrewed assets at sea, right? Ships. And the question is going to become, okay, so basically we ignore if you shoot down an uncrewed drone, an uncrewed aviation vehicle. What do we do if you sink a ship? Is there going to be a rule that basically, okay, you sink a actual functioning uncrewed surface vessel, that's different than if you sink an uncrewed, if you shoot it down an aircraft? One is we will ignore and not bother with you because frankly it doesn't matter. One is we will declare war, or do we have the same rule apply to those surface vessels, because they're going to be millions, probably hundreds of millions of pounds once you're installed and loaded up with all the weapons and everything they can probably carry. It's just, yeah, there's going to be so many interesting points of international order that total. So many rules for engagement. Team Locker, did the shipshape crew find a finished relic in the Mikasa? I think we have, but I don't want to say if we have or not because we're going back there again. One of the things is we decided very early on, when I say we, the person who was organising the schedule, who really wanted to see Mikasa, managed to design a schedule whereby he got 3 days with Mikasa. Don't know who that was. Anyway, 3 days of purging their soul of all the Hosh images that have been forced on them by Fleet by looking at a beautiful ironclad battleship. Can't think who would arrange that one. But yeah, it's fun. It is a lot of fun. I can't, but we're going to be looking back over her again. There's all sorts of interesting things we did in. Steve, YouTube Minecraft watcher. What World War II Japanese warship would the panel? And unfortunately, panel seems to be just me. So I think by being a bit late, I think Dragon and Fox are probably dead or something. Probably very sensible to get off. Usually there's a panel, but today it's just. But we're getting used to these timings and what I'm going to do when I'm, as I'm traveling, and hopefully it'll be better next week. I think next week, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in Hiroshima by next Sunday. I think Hiroshima, or is it Kure? I have an Excel spreadsheet with it on. I'll find it in a bit. No, unfortunately, the Mikasa, as purifying as it was, did not purge her host from his soul. But what World War II Japanese warship would the panel want to personally own? I think I'm going to go for Mutsu. And the reason I'm going to go for Mutsu is because, honestly, there aren't many of them I'd be actually interested in. I probably would Neko Congo, but if I'm actually going to say anything here, I think I should go Mutsu because she is such a big part of Yokosuka. Her 16-inch gun, her shells are all over the place. She's in the little museum, the French museum, French inspired museum. She's a French engineer inspired museum, and just she's everywhere. She's a big part of this area. So Mutsu, I'm gonna go Mutsu. Yeah, Hiroshima is where we're staying. Hiroshima is where some of us are staying to go to Kyoto because, let's be honest, Kyoto doesn't have a lot of hotels in it, so we couldn't. By the time some of us were booking, there wasn't hotel space in Kyoto. We're staying in Hiroshima itself. So, Matthew Blairens, how would you design a modern ship of war? I would take a reliable oceanic hull of about 2,000 tons. I would try and make it an uncrewed asset as much as possible. I would. You probably use. If I was doing it off the shelf immediately now, I'd probably go to Stanflex and I'd go to Otomalera. The only weapon system which I would build in would be something like the Otomalera 76 and probably a Phalanx, and the rest of the systems would be Stanflex and module added in, so that I could quickly change it in and out. I'd want to design it with, with systems which basically Marsden things that could actually be docked down, lowered down, so it could be brought inside the back of an LPD or something like that if I could. So I could rearm it at sea, but I don't think I could make an LPD which could do that, so probably wouldn't actually. Know. Yeah, it'd be about 2,000 tons, and that'd be sort of what I'd be aiming for. Something which could do what it needed to do, and then I would put things like I would have a single toilet on it, a single toilet and a single shower. So basically, and have hammock hanging spaces, so that if maintenance crew do need to come aboard, they have somewhere they can stay, but it's a temporary solution. I don't think they're permanently crewed ships. They're not got temporary facilities. People need them, and that for a temporary bed, a hammock solution is fairly fine. And yeah, sort of have a small sort of maintenance space, and would still have therefore need a flight deck on the back or a helicopter to land on, get people on and off. But yeah, it would be probably I would want it to have at least not a Malaria 76 forward and a phalanx aft, and missiles basically being everywhere else you could, or stand flex system being everywhere else you could put it. That makes sense. That'd make it modular. That'd be off the shelf. That'd be what I could build off the shelf. If I was going for something more nuanced, I'd probably use Mark 53 VLS, because you can put those along the edge of your ship, like they did in the Zumwalts. And I would use those. And by having as many Mark 53 VLS as I possibly can, then have sort of have them sort of put around everything, pod pack in cam and whatever missile systems I can get into that. I need a touch and go position for helicopters. I don't need any helicopter not going to be a refueling crew there. I don't need any maintenance there, because there's not going to be a maintenance crew there. If anything goes wrong with a helicopter aboard that thing, it's going to have to get helicoptered off, or it's going to have to get to sea. That's going to, I said, it's going to have minimal crew space. But it's basically going to be designed, and it's going to be designed with redundancy. So let's say I need at least one diesel engine going to power all systems. I'll make sure it's built for free. So if one goes wrong, it slips another one and there's still a spare, so that you can get someone out there to repair the one that's gone wrong, and nothing bad will happen in the meantime. You design with multiple fuel tanks, so that if there's a problem in the fuel and it affects one engine, it doesn't affect the other engines. Or you can go, we were drawing fuel from this engine at this point, so we shut down that tank and that engine. And we'll find out what's wrong when we get that. That's going to be an interesting track. It's going to be fun. But yeah, it would be... It's getting the right weapon system mix. The reason I'm going for the Malaria 76 is because, in my view, uncrewed assets are going to have to be slightly heavier armed than even OPVs, because they're going to need the slightly heavier weaponry to defend themselves. Because it's going to be a case of, okay, do I need a 5-inch gun or anything to fit it on? Probably don't want that on it. With a 76, anyone who's thinking, I'm going to get close to boarding, no, you're not. You're going to get wiped out by the 76 long before anything. It's not going to need to fire missiles or anything like that. It can wait till you're in visual engagement range. It can wait till it can see you clearly with all its sensors, and it can confirm you are you in any time, day or night, and then it can go boom. So international law will be well satisfied that we will have visual confirmation of exactly who and what you are, and then we'll engage, and that's why you have the Malaria 76. Black Horse. Why did Franz Ritter von Hipper or Reinhard Scheer not lead the German High Seas Fleet at the end of World War I? Was it their duty to do so? For the scuttling the High Seas Fleet, did you think it was most likely cause for it not happening? You did not say in the video. Well, okay, so why didn't they do so? Because whilst it should have been their duty, they were both too honourable to do that, but also it was important. It was done by a more junior officer. It was considered more acceptable to the Navy. It was done by someone who's more junior, and I didn't put in the thing of them not. I didn't want to put in a reason for them not how do I put this, not scuttling. But honestly, the best reason I could come up with was that they just get the timings wrong. They want they either want to scuttle, and they get caught before they get caught by one of the checks long beforehand, so they get all the crew removed off, so they don't get the opportunity to scuttle. Which could have happened if the British had been doing proper checks. They should have caught exactly what they were doing. Or alternatively, and this is the thing, is if you consider that the British considered seizing the ships on about 3 or 4 occasions beforehand, British just seized the ships before the Germans had managed to scuttle them. That's always an option. That is always a likely scenario, almost, in some ways. That the British actually seized the ships before the Germans actually managed to sink them. That's always a possibility. That's always a very definite possibility. That the British actually just turn up beforehand and do their job properly. It happens. It happens on occasion. Take care, Bishop. Concurrent. Do you think you will see anything? Oh, and anything interesting when you get to see the get to see the Cadence in person? I don't know. This is one of the things. Like, we went to see the North Korean spy ship, which was sunk and captured by the Japanese Coast Guard. And I sort of walk in where I was going, okay, this is going to be a diesel trawler, which has been converted to basically some variant of an LPD, and it's not really going to be anything that I haven't seen or thought about in pictures, and it's going to be really... I wasn't expecting it to teach me a lot, when I say not expecting it to teach me, I was expecting to learn a lot more than I'd already learnt from the pictures and the books and things I'd read on it. And, no, I learnt something, because the scale was off in my mind. It was both tighter and more spacious than I possibly imagined. And the engines were big, heavy diesels, but what you realize is that the Japanese took them out. Now, I walked around that vessel 3 times, getting the idea and scale and starting to map the stuff in, because you can go up one side and you can look down in the engine compartment from that one side, but you can walk along the other side. And one side you walk along is where they were shooting at it. You see these holes in the hull, and you're going, why are they hitting there in the hull? And you realise that the Japanese were lining their guns up, were firing directly into the engines. And that is careful, concentrated aiming, and the damage done is significant. And yeah, it's just... that vessel has no subdivision. It has nothing at all. There are so many rules of good naval architecture broken in that design. Works, but so many rules are broken. So who knows what we're going to learn from the Cadence in person. And Matthew Blair runs, why are there the 2 battles of Atlantic, especially the first one, underrepresented in public imagination? I'd say because people tend to try to ignore what scares them the most. That's what it's like. This is something, again, I found very refreshing around here, going around Japan. They are quite practical about what the role of their navy is. That they depend on imported food, they have imported energy, and they depend upon exports of manufactured goods for a lot of their income. Okay, They are very honest. This is what they are, and this is what their economy is based on, and a lot of their employment, a lot of their roles, and these sort of things. That is why they have Navy. They have literal videos going. I've been into 4 different shopping malls now, both in Tokyo and in Yokosuka, and one in Yokohama, which is Tokyo, isn't it? But anyway, and the thing is, in all those, I found all places advertising the JMSDF and telling people exactly what they're for. It's very easy to understand what the JMSDF is for. If you go around Britain, if you go around other countries, they aren't being quite so blunt. In Britain, there was a video produced a few years ago, which was an advertisement which was then not allowed to wear. And it was not banned, it was just not allowed to wear. Which was put together by I think it was the Maritime Foundation or something like that, which showed what happens if Britain is cut off from oceanic trade to the Seychelles. Literally, the video was just a time lapse of the shells getting emptier and emptier as there is supplies. Nothing coming in. And, yeah. What I never expected was to walk into a Japanese mall, wander through it, and find a little JMSDF sort of bit, which isn't even a recruitment section, just an information spot, and have a video of exactly that going. Has exactly that going. I think it's often people don't understand the roles of the armed forces. If we're talking about Britain, if we're talking about America, we're talking about what are their roles, what their functions are. For America, it's the strategic depth and security. It's the fact that they are integrated economically so much into global trade that keeping it going for them prevents them getting issues with their economics, because they have so much of their economics riding on movement of goods around the world. Britain and Japan, it's absolutely essential those goods move. Their economies are entirely dependent. But the thing is, it's being honest about this, and it's being honest about what happens. Bonewell, I think you're just gonna have to search and track it down. I haven't. I did. There did used to be. It did get onto YouTube for a while, but I think it got taken down. And I haven't found a copy in a few years, floating around. It's one of those things which goes around quite a lot. Yeah, the fact that the British public can every single time there's a panic buy toilet rolls is an amazing thing. I think. It is an amazing thing. But yeah, the 2 battles Atlantic are. There's also the fact that battles Atlantic are kind of are kind of, how do I put this? They're attached to world wars. Most people's ideas, and the idea of the next world war is that it'll be between nuclear powers, and therefore go nuclear. We won't have a battle of Atlantic because it's far too quick. And I don't think that's the reality. And I never have, because I thought, well, frankly, letting the nuclear genie out the bottle is never a good idea, and never something which people are really that keen on. They just aren't. It's far too problematic. Hello? I think I have a dragon here. Excellent. No worries. Let's see. It should be. People should be able to hear you. Weirdo. We'll see how well this is going. Because I can hear you. But yeah, it's And it's all supposed to be, it all says it's hooked in and working fine, but you never know. You never know. Oh. So how are you doing, Dragon? Hmm. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's about a hotel about 2,000 meters that way. Um, that is. There's a rune on. Okay. I'm currently having fun with the system. It's the Wi-Fi here is proving fun. No audio at all. Okay. Okay. Give me just a second to do that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just turning things off and on again, if that makes sense. So on in terms of the systems. So just explain running screen for a second. Ba 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 ba. So you let's clarify it again. You could stop not work and you could be still be revenue positive. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hmm. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, this computer is really not liking to pick up. Let me just try to hack the system. And I'm back. Hello. Sorry. And now it's picking you all up. I had to reset my head. I had to reset my headphones. Sorry, everyone. It's fun. Sometimes these things are fun. Self microphones engaged. We can always hope. Right then. So, is there a role for catapult or catapult launched seaplanes, reconnaissance drones on corvettes, frigates, and destroyers? Probably not. Mainly because the size of catapult of reconnaissance aircraft are in terms of drones for frigates and corvettes and destroyers is probably going to be small enough that they can either be caught by net, so don't need to actually enter the sea, or they're going to be disposable. If they get big enough that you're actually going to look at sea landing points, it's probably going to be a case of, well, that's what we have the carrier drones for. You had to think about the amount of space they're going to be taking up on board. And this is one of the realities we deal with these days, is that you have a multiplication of various assets you could do this with. So you have satellite reconnaissance, you have high altitude drone reconnaissance, you have crewed aircraft, of course, and then you have the various levels of uncrewed aircraft systems. So, you know, there are options. I don't think you'll see seaplane drones return. Although I have seen some Japanese seaplanes in action recently, and heard about them, discussed them and things. Yeah, it'd be quite cool. Stovel, yeah, you probably see more of a Stovel system than anything else, but it's probably going to be, I would say, I think you're more likely to see tilt rotor drones.
There could be a market or a niche for countries that like to hide things in caves that are on the seaside.
Yes, there could be. And hopefully the audios should be balanced so you do not get overwhelmed. I have no idea why, but once again my system is favouring the audio output from other people over me.
Probably because it's your output is a mic, their Discord's output is a source. If and I had to guess.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably what it does. It likes to be fun. I have got to upgrade some of this gear when I get home. When finally the house sale's gone through. Oh. Yes, when finally the house sale's gone through.
I am waiting for December, where I will receive the mother of all laptop bills, as far as my experience is concerned. But I will have a very nice laptop by the time it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Just ouch.
Right then.
Just to solve that mic issue from previous.
Wayne's World of Science and Technology opinion of CCSGS Arpatuk and her class. Okay. Right then, Arpatuk and her class. Oof. I'm gonna look up get a picture to make sure I've got the right one. Can I hear myself talking in the background?
I feel like there's a joke there, but I'm too tired to make it.
Yeah, I thought I could hear myself talking in the background. So, the Arctic class are the Canadian Coast Guard icebreakers, which they are planning on building, probably some of. We'll see how many actually are ordered and how many actually join the fleet before I start talking about their numbers and how that's going to be useful. But yeah, they look like to be interesting vessels. The reality is, kind of like Japan, kind of like a lot of countries which are involved in and have connections with the Arctic and Antarctic, icebreakers are going to be necessary assets. Everyone else is booming. Okay. Yay. I will have a conversation about that with the system. I don't know why mine is playing up as much as it is, but it is. As I said, I think it could be due to, I think this place does have active or other various systems to try and cancel noise going around things, so I think it stops a lot of noise. A lot of noise. But we'll see. We will see. I can just do this. Hello? So that might solve some of the problems. I'll do this. I'll sit with the microphone here, and that way you definitely can hear my dulcet tones. The microphone's right here.
Follow the soothing sound of my voice.
Yeah, I don't think my voice is that good, but you know, hey ho, we'll have the microphone right here. Let's go. Hello, this is the voice for radio. Paul Amos, do you think that keeping the sea lanes open in the near future is going to be up to individual navies rather than open, as in the case now? I think it's always been to an extent been up to individual navies. It's always been up to. It's like we accept them as being open now, mostly because that's been the way the international order has kept it open. But the international order has kept it open because there haven't been any threats really to try to force it to close. And so they've reduced their fleets down. But realistically, if you want to keep it open, with the rising issues of international order, and different nations have different interests, and they have different perspectives on things like free trade at sea and movement of goods. If you want to be able, if you're going to be able to manage those differences of interests without conflict emerging, you're going to have to do some sort of active management, and that active management is probably going to have to be present. It's going to be a case of, look, you know we're interested in this area. We know you're interested in this area. You know if we're here already. So if you cause any trouble here, that means we're going to have to get involved. We don't want to get involved. So don't cause trouble here, sort of scenario. And that's what deterrence and conflict management is often about. It's about, look, showing our nations you are interested in an area, you do have commitment to there, you do have a presence there, and you will show up if there are problems. So please don't cause problems, because no one wants to do that paperwork. The thing is, not every nation has the same perspective on sea lanes, and also, I would say I don't think America is going full isolation. I know there's lots of weird talk about it, but I don't think they are. Their economy is not designed for isolation, and in the nicest way, there are many things you can argue about the American government and American politics, but if in doubt, they always follow the money, and the money is not down the full isolation route. It just isn't. So no, I don't think that's going to happen. I know there's a lot of discussion around. I also don't think the Chinese Navy is being built up or set up in any way, shape, or form to be able to do that. They are doing some very interesting deployments. They are doing some very interesting work, but they have their own issues, which they are grappling with in terms of what they're supposed to do. Because the thing about the Chinese Navy is, as much as they might want to do, and the Chinese government might want to do, global power projection, sea lane control for their status in the world, they're also absolutely focused on the South China Sea and East China Sea and their own national security, which is fully understandable. But that means that they are always going to want to deploy the majority of their assets in those areas, so they're never going to commit enough forces to being able to doing the international order stuff. And as I said, this is the point about these sort of things when we start talking about international trade, sea lanes and keeping them open. Just because a nation has the assets doesn't mean they'll use them for that. Just because and even if they do use them for that, they might not do them on the same rules to which we are used to, which is going to change the system. So you cannot start thinking a nation is going to slot one for one into another nation's role, or going to take on that role. It's like the British approach to international sea lane freedom of seas was very different to the American one, and that was as near enough a seamless transition from one democratic power to another democratic power. So there is a difference going on there. Oh, Space Ghost. I know there are lots of people who try to say that, but it's not talking about rational people in the US government. It's not even necessarily a rational government. It's a self-interested government that we're talking about, and that's what guides them. It's always it's always that sort of scenario. Peter Zine would disagree. Yeah, Peter would disagree, but that's good for Peter. And nicest way when Peter agrees to have a debate with, I don't know, me or Sal or anyone who wants to do current affairs and talk about that on YouTube. It'd be quite an interesting one to talk about defense, because he comes from one angle, we come from another, and it'd be interesting to see where we end up. It'd be an interesting, it would be a very interesting and very thought-provoking debate, I'm fairly certain. Because he's very informed in his areas, but sometimes that means he jumps into other areas, and I'm sitting there going, no, don't take this the wrong way, but one of the fun things I find with Peter is when he starts talking about future of defense technology and all these things, and I've been going, yeah, we've been on that route for the last 20 years, and we've already got to there, so you're behind at times. But he's a very good economist, so please don't take that wrong. It's not critiquing him in a way, it's just a case of, it's funny when he is very knowledgeable in his own area, and when he wanders into other areas, that's when he sometimes gets into trouble. So as I said, a debate would be an interesting thing to have, because it would be both of us bringing information from our own sides. It's like me, I would never claim to be an economist. I'm good when it comes to war studies, and I'm good when it comes to economics as they apply to warfare, but I'm not an economist. I am not. I can just about to debate the difference between mercantilism versus capitalism and the various other economic systems based on them. So, Knight 6841. If the Washington Naval Treaty article that banned the sale or gifting of ships from the treaty signatories had been rejected, wouldn't the ships sold off a surplus not be on borrowed time, given they're old? Yes, but they'd still be useful. Let's be honest, for the powers that could buy them. Think about nations which would be interested in buying a 13.5-inch gun battleship. It'd be something like it would be the Turkish, it would be the Greeks, it would be various powers who had come through World War I either intact or radically different, who needed to secure their new position in the world. It could be China. It could be, there's all sorts of options of nations which come, and so they're going to be useful for them, because yes, they might not be the latest and greatest system, but they're still going to be a dreadnought battleship or a fairly good cruiser with some life left in it. You'd only have to look at modern procurement of ships and how some modern nations buy them. The good example is Brazil. They are buying a whole load of amphibious warfare capability from other nations as they sell off their old stock, and it's going to serve them well. They are basically building up one of the world's strongest amphibious warfare forces. For very good reasons, again, for their national security, so it makes sense. But these things happen. Yeah, these things happen. There are questions still coming in, and by my count, I've got another 50 minutes. So, plenty of time to chat away.
Yeah.
Knights to go front. So why hasn't the Royal Navy said how many VLS the Type 31 will have yet? Is that a major point of contention in the class? Not really. They're already being modified. It's like they've been modified. They started off with, these are the VLS we're going to fit, and these are what they're going to be fitted for, and now they're being fitted with them. So we all know roughly how many VLS they're going to have, roughly. We're waiting on the actual form, but in simple terms, if you want to find out what the Type 31 is going to have in terms of missiles at the moment, if you really want to know, you can go and look at the Royal Navy's own webpage. You can literally go and look at their own webpage, and it will tell you exactly what they're being fitted with.
I take it they publish that information as part of, well, information warfare, both domestic and international.
Yeah. It's basically, it's published away, and yeah, it's if you go through the warfare, they have all the related news of them, and the VLS now being fitted, and the ships being built, etc. They don't have the exact figures, I will say this, on the Mark 41 VLS being fitted, but there again, we all know roughly what the space is in the hull. There's a maximum space for 24 such cells, so I'm going to give you a guess as to what I think the number of cells that are going to be fitted are, but we'll see. We will see.
They're going to fit for 24, but only with 12.
No, you have to buy them in sets of 8.
What?
Mark 41 is sold in blocks of 8.
Yes. What in the world is... I've been too poisoned by Hawkeye as to what I think an AWACS aircraft should look like.
Oh, good lord. Fun times.
I've been... Well, I just got an article that popped up when I started my computer up about the South Korean has accepted the L3 Harris Global 6500 as the base plate for its new AWACS.
Nah, it's going to be quite good. It's got a lot of space for. It's got a fair decent amount of space for electronics generation.
It looks like it's got side scan radar, which
won't surprise me.
Is that
phased array panel systems being put on aircraft is quite a common system. Wow.
God help your fuel bill.
Hmm.
Oh, then again, it doesn't have to go that fast, so high bypass. Okay.
Adrian, the whole point of fitting the Mark 41 to the Type 31s is so they can take Tomahawks. So, yeah, it can't be. It's not soft launch. Oh, fun times. While other nations are making Type 2631 orders from BAE, will we get the scale bonus of construction costs, and by how much cheaper we get the CMET? I'm not sure. We're gonna learn that when we learn how much the hulls are gonna cost of the batch 3, which they're probably gonna have to order to cover for the units being transferred. The unit being transferred to the Norwegians, and to cover for to maybe provide extra builds. But I will say this. Every time I hear figures put around for how much a sail training ship would cost, and the idea that Royal Navy should suddenly launch itself into having a sail training ship, my personal estimate of the cost is that it would not be too far differential from buying another Type 26 hull. So you can all wonder this, but if I have to put it out there, my preference is if we have to choose between spending a couple $100 million on an extra Type 26 hull or a sail training ship, we buy the extra Type 26.
What's the argument for a Constitution size or whatever the Mexican Navy ship that had the unfortunate incident in New York a couple months back? What's the argument for having that?
It's leadership and something. And you sit there and go,
yeah, but why do you need a sailboat for that?
Because it looks stylish, and because the other nations have them, and so it can look green and efficient because we're investing in sail, so it's renewable. And don't get me started. Okay. I hope every time I hear about it, it's kind of there are just some really silly ideas going on that one.
I'm too tired to parse that argument.
I'm too tired. I'm just in a nice way. I'm enjoying myself too much in Japan. I don't want to get into the weeds of that argument. It just gives me, winds me up. It just is.
Well, it's a good way to good way to get you kickstarted for the
Oh,
day.
sorry, I'm having breakfast with Fleet again. I will no doubt hear about Hosh at least twice during breakfast.
How many have you've been on Mikasa already, right?
Yes, we've already been on Mikasa.
That
How
was
many
technically
comparisons
today
to
for us.
how many comparisons to Hosh has he made?
Don't go there. Do not
That
go
answers that question. That answers that question.
there. At one point, oh my lord. Our
Just
sailboats.
remember, murder is still illegal.
I'm not one you have to remind that of. I'm actually being the least threatening towards his life so far.
That makes me wonder who's been the most. But
he's managing to make some of the nicest people I've met look very annoyed. He's doing okay. He's good.
AC 75. I want you to know that no matter what our relationship does from here on out, I will always hate you a little bit because I like hash browns and I don't actually want to have a hash brown and have that statement pop up in my head of hash browns because it's going to. So thank you for that.
Oh, right. Are sailboats become more reasonable as cargo carriers? No. Although they are looking at using sails to try and make more cargo ships more efficient. But the trouble is, and this is the realistic problem, there are various ideas working on how to make that work. Because the fact is, a lot of our cargo ships, modern cargo ships, are designed to have cargo on their decks as well as internal volume, i.e., container ships. And they don't have a lot of space. They don't have space where you can really add on sails. And this is when people talk about, well, why don't we make it a kite sail? And you go, great. So for it to be big enough and useful enough to help with something of the hundreds or tens, almost hundreds of thousands of tons of container ship, you're talking a pretty massive sail, which is going to cause issues for aircraft.
Additionally, I would point out that look at what happened or how much of a justification the Ever Given getting stuck in Suez was. And I would remind the court that one of the biggest arguments against using completely green energy or renewable sources, non-hydro renewables, is that the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow.
Right. NK33 recommended courses on war. Well, you said war fighting. War studies is my specialty, but yeah, it does do war fighting. King's is still #1 in the world, and it's also been around for the longest. It's the only one it's the only course which measures its time of existence in centuries. Annapolis has a very good course, and so does the fancy university in Washington. The fancy one in Washington. The one that's not called Washington University, but is in Washington. I cannot remember his name from it. Birmingham in the UK, also pretty good. And I think Sydney has a fairly good course. I know quite a few of the people who came from Singapore who studied at King's as well. They do a fairly good course, I think, as well. But yeah, those are the ones which are the sort of the best ones. Birmingham and King's are the two best ones in the UK. King's is better than Birmingham, but Birmingham is mostly run by Jonathan Boff, who is an absolute superstar. And the only reason King's is really better than Birmingham is because it's bigger. And therefore they can offer they've got far more staff, far more resources, because if you can imagine, it's a department which has pretty much 3 whole floors of King's Strand building to itself. And for a department to be worthwhile enough that it's getting that much real estate in central London, it's a pretty big deal. Georgetown, yes. Thanks, Raptor. I knew it was George, but I knew it wasn't George University, and I was going, what is it called?
There probably is a George University somewhere in the United States.
There is a George University. There's also a Georgian University. Nice to everyone. With British shipbuilding plans, always long term, just how many decades does the British plan for? There's always a theoretical plan going out about 5 to 10 decades for the British, but it's a theoretical one. Usually, once you're looking at solid building plans, you're looking at no more than 1 to 2 decades because of the infrastructure and long lead items which you need to install for it. Like for the Type 83 project, we've already learnt that there needs to be some investment in various shipyards to make them bigger.
And it takes about 10 years to grow your trades.
Yeah.
To get competent personnel in there. Sorry.
Don't worry. No, you're right. It does. It takes 10 years to grow your trade, get the competent people in, and you need those competent people at various different levels. It's far more difficult to... It's not... People often think, okay, we just need to recruit these people and it's done, and it's a couple of years training. No, it's the toughest layer to recruit to are the middle managers, the team leaders, the ones who are actually going to do that job effectively.
Please don't call me middle management. Please don't call me middle management.
Well, it's basically what you are. You're not the bosses. You're not the managers, but you're the people leading teams, and you're the people with 3 or 4 people under you doing what you're directing them to.
No.
What's wrong with being a middle manager, Runon?
You've worked retail. Don't ask me that question.
I've worked as a manager in retail, your point.
You've also worked under managers in retail.
Hey, Hood.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Notice how you just said, unfortunately.
Basically, I-75. It's the NCOs. It's what what I would call in the armed forces and this is the navies and all the things. The toughest levels to recruit to get people into are things like lieutenant commander and commander, and sergeant, staff sergeant. Those are the 2 levels. You can rapidly get people up to senior lieutenant. You can rapidly get people up to corporal to an extent, but getting them to sergeant, staff sergeant, getting them to lieutenant commander, that is more difficult. Oh, Runon's now a lower executive level. I didn't realize she'd had that much of a promotion, Hood. I'm sorry.
Why? Why?
Paul Amos,
why?
What has been the silliest comment you have received since arriving in Japan? Someone actually said, "Why were we pretending it took 14 hours to fly here?" It was just a drive from the UK. In a comment on one of the flying videos they put out. And
these people vote. Which reminds me, I still have to do that. I really hope it rains Tuesday.
Right, 9681. If the Royal Navy had 6 Invincible class light carriers, does the view of 2 65,000-ton carriers replace 622 to make more sense than 265? Okay, look. Knight, first of all, the Queen Elizabeths, for some reason, have been to replace all sorts of things more than just the Invincible light carriers. And it's number of hulls. If the British had 6 Invincible class, then the odds of us dropping below 3 Queen Elizabeth class would be very, very low, very, very low. Because the government would be going, well, we're replacing 6 Invincibles. We'd have to have all the escorts around that, plus Ocean and Argus, so you'd be replacing 8 ships. At the moment, they claim they're replacing 5 with 2. They could just about get away with it. If you're replacing 8, if you're going less than 3, it's going to be problematic. That's better for the Royal Navy in so many ways, but yeah, there's also the fact that aircraft size has grown and what they're expected. What they brought Britain's expecting from the Queen Elizabeth class is very different to what they expected from the Invincibles. The Invincibles were expected to be, for want of a better phrase, ASW/escort carriers. That's what they expected to be. The escort carrier bit came later once the Harrier was included. The Queen Elizabeth class carriers are expected to be strike carriers, and they have been up front. That's the whole way. They've been built around strike because that's turned into such a big mission for the British. And so they've been built with that as their air group defining item. And that's why they're supposed to carry 36 F-35s, because you have 18 for air defense and 18 for strike. You know, that as I've talked many times before, you need 18 aircraft to maintain 4 in the air for air defense, for a constant cap. And then if you have another 18, you can have a constant strike going out of 4 aircraft going off the strike. So that is what you need. That is what you have to have if you're talking about it. So that's what defined the Queen Elizabeth class. And then you have the helicopter side on for the ASW mission, which is why you end up with going, oh, we can carry 60 aircraft if we carry 24 Merlins and 36 F-35, and we have them doing the deck operations and everything else which they need to do to maintain those air groups because of the space they're designed for. Yeah. Thank you, George Newman. I could as well. It was just fun. Are you going to visit the JMSDF Museum in Cure? Yes. I know one in Sicebot. 9641. Is it inaccurate to assume that as the British 100-year decolonization plan was carried out, that an attitude change by people living in the Empire would have occurred? Basically, the attitude change was almost to an extent factored into it as something which was presumed to be happening anyway. And the idea was, if you managed it and went with people's views, that they would probably they would be far more solid and loyal to you. It's amazing if you listen to people's opinions as a nation, and you work with them, you tend to find yourself as a politician more supported, and you also tend to find that you're better able to guide them.
Shocker.
You're better able to lead if you listen. It's an amazing skill. It's something which people forget quite often, but it is true.
This is my shocked face. Do you see how shocked I am?
Ramol, need more volts going through.
Yeah. Ramol, can you elaborate why pre-war converted carriers had circular edges on their flight decks before they were refitted to square edges?
Aerodynamics, right?
Yeah, it is. Basically, it's because they fought round downs and round ups to sort of get the airflow over the deck and improve the airflow of the deck. But as you get to a certain point, you start. Well, there's two big things against it. One, those things take time and are expensive to do and require skilled shipyard workers to do, which you don't have a lot of. You do not have a lot of. The Americans especially are suffering from skilled labour shortage throughout World War II, as are the Brits. But the Americans, because they're expanding their industry and at the same time as they are trying to build so much, they don't have time to necessarily grow the skill base as much as they'd like. And as I talked about this in the whole Liberty class video, you know, the fact is the America had allowed itself to get down to a point where it had less than 10,000 skilled. That is 10,000 skilled workers in their shipyards across the whole country. Think about that.
Again, with that skilled labor thing.
Yeah, it's the skilled labor, and that's a stat. Every time I read that and look through that stat and go, oh, "Good Lord!" And then I think by about 1938, they're up to. Was it by that point they're up to 20,000? And okay, great, you've now got 20,000 skilled labourers. How many blooming yards do you want to run? What do you want to do? And this causes all sorts of issues, because would you like to devote 100 of those skilled people to making round downs on your carriers, or do you want them to be working on making the hull lines on 100 different ships?
And what'd you say, 20,000?
Yeah. I think it was
20,000 is not a lot, because you figure you need four shifts a yard of people,
yes,
roughly. So that's 50,000 people divided by however many yards you want to operate at one time.
20,000, so it's 5,000 people.
Oh yeah, 5,000.
5,000.
Sorry.
And then if you're operating, you have to remember during World War II, they're running roughly 100 yards. Handling most of the production. So that means
you can build one ship with that.
Yeah.
Realistically, you're putting about, you can soak maybe a destroyer, you can get away with about 250 people that are at that mid-level journeyman master tradesman level. But anything bigger than a destroyer, you're gonna soak 500 very quickly.
And
500 a shift very quickly.
The thing. This is why the Liberty Yards basically had no skilled labor. This is why Kaiser Yards are so important, because they basically their entire system is designed on building the ships with unskilled labor.
Yeah, but Ramal, I mean, the Two Ocean Navy Act would help, but for context,
yeah, no, Ramal, the Two Ocean Navy Act, and I'm going to borrow Runon's formulas. They go, we need this act, we need these people, but they hadn't actually started hiring them till 1942. Most of those people, and you think about it, skilled labor to come in to become skilled labor is about 3-4 years of experience. So the fact is, none of the people hired in World War II actually achieved skilled labor status before the end of World War II.
And like, just for modern context on this, the current JTAC electrical apprenticeship program, and JTAC is I can't remember the exact acronym. It's the IBU NECA, which is the two big electrical groups in the U.S. for organized electricians, unionized electricians, has only within the last 2 years been cut down to 4 years as an accelerated course. So you're going to be an apprentice for 4 years before you get to be a journeyman.
Yeah.
And not all apprentices, as much as the union tries to rotate these apprentices, much to the current chagrin of me and my current foreman. A lot of these apprentices are going to have really weird gaps in their training, in their experience. Like, I have a really weird gap because I have very little industrial experience and less mechatronics experience. So, but I have 20 years in the trade and a master's license. So, yes, great. You passed the act. You're still going to take 10 years before you get a well-rounded electrician that, and this is just an electrician, God help you for a welder, who can look at the big picture and spot problems before they come back to bite you in the aft.
And the big problem you have is the fact that actually it's not the 1940 Act which really is growing up, but is the people who grew up to help World War II. It's the 1938 Act and the earlier acts which actually do the growth. They're the ones which the skilled labour comes from. But honestly, yeah, the Liberty Ship program, all those things. There's a shortage of skilled labour. The Americans have a shortage of skilled labour. They have no shortage of unskilled labour. They have a shortage of skilled labour, and that's because of years of underinvestment, and also, I'd say this, except their own yards have worked against growing their skilled labour pool. In that, skilled labour costs a lot of money, and so the yards have actually, to an extent, actively worked against it in terms of increasing the number of skilled labour. They have worked to minimise it, and that's causing them problems.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
That does cause some problems.
It's unfortunately, in the U.S. context, it is not just the contractors that do not want to grow the labor pool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, don't get me started.
Right. Let's go on. What are the odds that in any no treaty environment with 20 years of new construction, the names of the 6th Queen Elizabeth and 6th Revenge could be used again? Oh, they're more likely going to be used again. They're good names, so the Royal Navy will like them. But yeah, they'll be used again. They will be used again.
Well, that would put the QEs at, what, about 30 years old with war service. Okay, yeah, so they'd probably be replaced.
They'd have been replaced, yeah. They would have been replaced. There's no chance they're not replaced.
Sorry, I had to do the little head math on that one there because I'm like, Kiwis aren't that old, are they? I'm like, no.
Basically, if you've got constant construction going on, the R's probably get replaced first. But first they'll build up to their number of whatever they're allowed to build up to. And then they'll replace the R's, and then they'll replace the Queen Elizabeths. Rommel, I don't drink alcohol. So, no, I haven't tried sake. But I think Fleet has. And, yeah.
Is there a video of this?
No, he apparently didn't like it, though. But please ask him more about that, because he did something which... I'm going to ask Foxo about this. So, Foxo...
Yeah?
So, if you decided to go off on your... if you went off on your own to go to the new hotel with no one else with you, would you then go to a bar and try an alcohol which you never drunk before while you're on your own? Before they get there? When they're hours away on the train?
Yes.
You asked the wrong person here.
Yeah, you did. But
So
in the night...
Because the thing is, I'm a spirits drinker. I drink
Like, I love my
strong
Fox,
spirits.
but she does like her alcohol.
And in the nicest possible way, Foxo saying she would do that is probably the most damning indictment on that course of action one could have without issuing warrants.
Yeah, but so clarify my answer. If Fleet knew his alcohol, and when it comes to sake, had the history of drinking spirits, I would say what he did was fine. Because I've done the same thing in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And Finland. Wait, no. On the border of Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know your alcohol, it's fine. If you're like Fleet and you're a cider drinker, and you accidentally order some spirits, not fine. Not fine.
So he's having fun. He's a good kid, but yeah, he is having fun. Now I ticked this because I have done that, but it's now Castaneda's question. How long before the USN tries to convince Congress to fund a new set of SGNs? I'm expecting them to either convert some of the younger Ohios, or to actually, with the new class, actually just go, yes, we're going to do it, because they're being too useful for gunboat diplomacy at the moment. So they keep using them of the, oh, you caught an Ohio SSGN near your border, did you? Oh, did you? That's fun. It's all fun times. Actually, I will say, having done this, there is a possibility that Fleet will try and do a Ramblings live tomorrow, because I've managed to achieve this. And what's the medium-term prognosis for the UK's Royal Fleet Auxiliary from AC-75? I'm hoping at some point they just... The actual solution to all the manning crises and all the other issues they're having is they need to raise the pay. That's the thing. The Royal Fleet Auxiliary are merchant sailors, and they can get employed by other merchant yards. And the thing is, and other merchant companies, and this is the problem. If you want to hire them, you need to pay the going rate. You need to pay the going rate. And at the moment, sailors can earn a lot of money going and working for the various civilian companies. I think it's on average the similar rank of officer of similar experience in a cruise line versus the RFA can be earning 5 to 10 grand more a year at minimum. And, you know, for some reason,
that stacks up.
Highly skilled British Royal Fleet Auxiliary trained merchant sailors are really attractive to cruise lines and other organizations like that who want a very well trained, very well eloquent, someone who can deal with a lot of international customers and do it. Yeah, they usually stack up as being very good for them to go for. Ramol, have you interacted with USN sailors from the 7th Fleet Yokosuka? Yes, lots of them. We had tons turn up yesterday on Mikasa. No, Drac did not get to climb Mikasa's mast. No.
Did you have to put him on a leash like they do for toddlers?
No, I just pointed out that a number of parts of the ship had been reconstructed, and that some of that included the ladder rungs, and we decided that he was not going up them. Also, I should point out that usually when it comes to rickety, to interesting mast structures, the one who does the climbing of them is not Drac. Drac climbs up internal things and things which are proper ladders. The guy who climbs up weird masts and smokestacks is not Drac. It's the one of us without the vertigo.
That would make sense, yes.
I'm the one who climbed up the stack on HMCS Sackville. There is video somewhere of me doing it, going up and getting the pictures. Oh, that was.
I think I've seen that video.
That was. I will say that was. I was fine doing it, but most people were watching with fairly certain it was the most stupid thing I could do. But I thought it was fine. Andrew Campbell, warning, long question. I'm doing a degree apprenticeship. My university provides me with an online copy of required reading text, but I find I struggle to retain as much of the information as compared to physical books. The physical books are expensive. I've bought books under £50. Only one more is under £100. Many free over 100. Should I bite a bullet to get them, bearing in mind they are required future modules, or leave it for now and rely on what I have? Okay, so I'm dyslexic. So as I said, my child version memory, so I always buy the books. But I also usually try and find a way to buy the books in a way which is going to save money. So I go and I try and look up alumni, people who've been through the course and who are graduating or people who are graduating soon, and talk to them and go, so have you finished this book? Or if it's a book which you're only going to use during your first year, go and chat to your second years and see if you can buy their books off them. eBay is also always a good option, and various things to try and find cheap copies of the books. And the other option, which I would totally never recommend you do, because you really shouldn't do this at all, is possibly go to the library and get them to photocopy the entire book in sections. You should never do that. That is very, very wrong of you to do. If you're only using it for your own information, you could say it's still to allow you a version that you can scribble over, because you don't want to scribble over the university textbooks, which is, of course, therefore a plausible reason for doing it. But again, I would never encourage that, because that is very, very wrong to do.
I would also never tell you, because this would be potentially, depending upon exactly how you have digital access to these study materials, that there's this really weird key on most QWERTY keyboards called F12, which does this really weird thing, and you might find it to be a useful weird thing. But no, I understand that, not as serious, but I have all like my D&D reference stuff. Well, not all of it, but most of it in hard copy, as well as my my code book for my trade. I have that in hard copy, mainly because I really don't want to pay the UL a egregious subscription so that I can have digital access to it. But if you want to limit the temptation of questionable activities, figure out, essentially copy paste your own study guide. Because if you can read through it and identify, okay, this is useful information, this is not, you can take the sections out and just cite them. It's also good practice for citing too.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to acquire the entire book. You can just acquire the most relevant portions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel that with not being able to retain, or especially in my case, find information in a digital copy.
Ramol, are you going to do a Mikasa video? Yes, I'm going to do a video, but I'm going to do it's going to be slightly different. It's going to be on 6-6 Fleet, Mikasa, and Toshima, and the decisions are made. The leadership decisions are made in the design and construction process of the 6-6 Fleet, and using Mikasa as it's a sort of a topic I've been building up to for quite a while. And it's one of the interesting things is that I've found that my sort of niche on a naval history front online is not so much the what I call the hard facts and hard facts, sort of engineering side of ships, although I do always include that in the videos because it's relevant. But it's usually focusing about the leadership decisions and the whys and the all the thinking behind things of why they end up with the decision they do, why they end up with the design decisions they do, why they end up with the focuses they do, and I think that works quite well for my videos. That seems to be doing quite well, so that's sort of the route I'm going down with them more. Also, it's an area which I find a very interesting history, and also I find there's not as much of a coverage of it in video on YouTube, etc. So that's tend to what I work with. And have I gone to see Queen Mary in Long Beach? No, I haven't done the preserved ships in America. I want to do it. It's going to be a thing again. It's going to be part of the funding goals for this year's Historiathon again. It's going to be, if I make enough money, I'll do a trip to America. Because I would love to see them. Drac does keep threatening to abduct me on an American trip or organize a Ship Shape America. And I've said if he does, that's great, but I have targets I want to see, because I want to see Midway. I want to see I want to see one of the. I would love to see a sort of an Iowa class, but I'm quite happy. I'd also there's a few other ships I'd like to see. I'd like to see Texas, and so there's options of these things, and yeah. Today we're off to the island fortress, I have to admit. So this is going to be that's what I'm going to be off to in a few hours, and I just want to. Why I'm covering that is because I have not. I would like to confirm now online before I get too far into this. I did not decide we were going there because it is called Monkey Island, and I'm here with a bunch of monkeys. Okay, that is not reason I picked we were going to Monkey Island today. Just clarifying before my colleagues make any accusations that was the reason I'm taking them to it. Is that?
Okay. That I need to. That associating fleet and monkeys is an insult to the monkeys.
Okay, I need to explain my outburst here.
That's cruelty.
In my server, I have established a food channel because it seems like all servers have at least one food channel.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a food channel on my server? Probably do.
I don't believe so. I consistently get yelled at by various associates of mine for only consuming 4 Belvita breakfast crackers most days until I get home, and then I eat whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on this panel, I won't say who, has posted what their caloric intake tomorrow will be. And it's 2 500 ml cans of Monster.
Okay, Foxo, you need to do more. You have more than that.
I don't even need to say anything.
I don't even need to know. You don't need to give me any more clarification than that. Look, what can I say? calorific intake is something I do actually have to study a lot because of recovering from pneumonia, but also trying to lose some of the weight which I put on at post pneumonia, and all these things. And I'm having fun with my colleagues because, like yesterday, I had a very big double burger with bacon. One thing I will say about Japan is they've gone American with their bacon. I mean, seriously, I love Japan. Japan, you're wonderful people. You do great Wagyu beef, and the burgers are lovely. And I had a double Wagyu beef, a double patty Wagyu beef burger for lunch yesterday. It was spectacular. The bacon. Is it so hard to make bacon crispy? Is there something America, Canada, and have now sort of infected the rest of the world with this idea that bacon should not be crispy? What has happened?
She's admitted to getting a large can of Red Bull too.
You need more than that. 2 cans of Monster and a can of Red Bull, please.
She'll be eating.
Have some protein.
She will be eating.
Han?
Yeah. Protein is a useful thing. Protein helps.
The enemy.
Didn't you have protein today? Like, didn't you have like a chicken curry or something?
Yes, and I was bribed. Okay.
Ramal.
Right, let me get in contact with your brother. I have a solution.
Ramal, I would like to point out, I have pointed this out to Drac, in that whereas the trips I've been in charge of organising, we've been going places none of us have ever been before, and I've been organising via internet, he does have connections. So there should be none of the issues which I keep suffering on these trips. I love them, because if you consider that we've turned up, one of the places we turned up in, the organisation which was supposed to be helping us connect actually hadn't done any connections at all, it seemed, between us and them, and but they still let us in. They still sorted us out, and they were wonderful to us, absolutely wonderful. And yeah, the Japanese people have been absolutely great. It's been wonderful all the way. But yeah,
I will say that if you manage to make it over here before I manage to escape, I will be happy to show you around some places.
We'll stick you in our luggage on the way out.
And some smaller places that you probably wouldn't have on your radar, but
yeah,
might find worth a day's drive.
Okay, so we'll take in.
We could fit Runon. I'm sorry, again.
Karen.
Do you think we could fit Runon in like an oxygen bottle in a suitcase?
Considering the size of the size of the cases that me and Drac wheel through the airport, probably could. Walter Brodus. HMS Arden, HMS Castor. Why no VC recommendation for the captains? Is there any process for our overlooked candidates? Not really, and the British don't really do don't do very, very late on posthumous VCs. For a Castor and Ardent, it was the trouble you have is that to an extent they were doing what they were expected to do, so it wasn't above and beyond because it was what was expected of them. And this is the problem you have to explain sometimes with Victoria Cross. Victoria Cross is for above and beyond. And that's, for the Royal Navy, what a Castor and Ardent do, whilst it's incredibly brave, and no one's going to argue against that, it's considered what you're supposed to do. And that is, to an extent, that is why George Cross and other things have come into existence, because the VC is for above and beyond. The George Cross is, you did something incredibly brave. It's expected of you, that particular thing, but it's still incredibly brave, so have a George Cross. And for the, it's for, you did something which frankly is insane, you get the VC. So there's that sort of level going on. And that's what happens. YouTube Minecraft Watcher, what if all the British battleships become HMS Conqueror from Model Warships in 1939? Then Germany and Italy cry, and, well, Italy might not even enter World War II. In which case, Japan's strategic situation becomes very, very different. It changes the world very, very much. Because if they're all HMS Conqueror, there is nothing built in the world in 1939 which can take on that ship.
I'm now imagining a conked up warspite, and
even
I think somebody needs to come pick me up because I'm scared.
Yeah, I was going to say, even the US is going to be terrified of that, because that's like 15, if not more, just going off some of the older ships, like 50, 60,000 ton ships potentially. I think some of the displacements show with 12, 16.5-inch guns.
Yeah.
So about some of those Montana designs.
And also, if I remember correctly, their speed is something like... They're definitely fast battleships, aren't they, Conquerors?
Yeah, they're at least 28 knots.
So yeah, in nicest way, that's just that's goodbye Vienna to everyone. Even the Yamatos are not. There's no one taking on those ships.
Worse than I thought. 29.5 knots.
Yeah. So they've got 2.5 knot speed advantage on a Yamato class plus 12, 16.5-inch guns. Yeah, the Yamato classes are now looking like they're spent already. The Japanese could probably admit they had them, and everyone would go, "So what? That's entry level, darling." Have you seen what the British are packing around? We're all currently crying somewhere, trying to work out how we're going to catch them up. Ramol, are you going to say that Mikasa is the oldest existing ship Vickers have built? I don't think she is. That's the thing, I don't think she is. Because there are some older civilian little ships wandering around the world which are by Vickers as well. So I don't know if Mikasa actually is the oldest ship. We've been trying to clarify this and working through, because there are all these little ships around the world in places, and we don't want to say it if it's not true. Because both me and Drac, worry about being cited, and if we're wrong, then that's quite a big thing. It's an interesting discussion to sort of work with, because it's one of the things of... One of the reasons why Drac doesn't do modern warfare, whereas I do, is Drac doesn't like to use what I call the Wikipedia rule, the wiki rule of, if it's public information, I will use it, but I'm not going to use anything because because for his perspective is he's always 100% accurate, as I try to be, on things, which is a very good thing to aim for. But once you're doing modern stuff, even if you know something might be wrong, you're not supposed to... If you know that's not the publicly released figure, you can't use that. You shouldn't use that, because that's who knows things. And so he doesn't want to get into it. Doesn't want to enter into a scenario where he's giving out wrong information. And I, of course, go, well, look, I'm honest. I'm not War Thunder. I'm going to go with the publicly information rule. And you might know better, but we're going to talk about systems in a different way. But because of that sort of, we both have that thing of we want to be as accurate as we possibly can. Except on modern warfare stuff, when I talk about it, I can't be. There are limits to how accurate, and I hope the viewers understand it. And to an extent, the size of my channel is size enough that people will understand it. I always want the channel to grow and get bigger, and I do want it to get bigger. My aim is to eventually... My goal is really to reach a channel size of about 100,000. Mainly because someone's told me I'd never get more than 50,000, and I want to get to 100,000 eventually. But we'll see what happens. 20,000 by Christmas. I'm trying to get there. But the thing is, it's when we're talking, therefore, when we apply that to historical events, you apply that same ruling of want to be accurate. We're looking at Mikasa and going, is it the oldest Vickers built ship in the world? Because there's that little tugboat, and there's that little boat, and that little boat, and they're all built at different slightly earlier times. And also there's the fact that she's sitting in concrete, and she has been seriously damaged by both an internal explosion in herself and by the tenure of America running Japan and how they treated her. Yeah. We'll say no more questions, because at some point I have to go to breakfast. But I will get through the questions which are already in here, but we're not taking any more in. But yeah, so it's a fun one. Ramul, did you have any difficulty at navigating and also ordering food during travels? No, it's been very good. The one thing I would recommend, and I think Foxo, do you like donuts?
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this earlier, actually.
Yeah, you would love Mr. Donut. You would love the Ponder Rings. Okay, they are. Let's put it this way. I'm fully open to admit that I first heard about ponderings listening to Fuamoko. You all, as I've said before, my mum really does like VTubers, and there's a couple I've sort of developed a following of, and sort of as a result of that. And I used to occasionally have Amelia Watson on background, and then she's now Doobie 3D. But Mum's current favourites from Hololive are probably Fuamoko and Kiara, Nina, and Callie. She does like them. But anyway, so I heard about ponderings from them. They were always going on about this. Two Japanese ladies constantly going on about ponderings, and I thought, well, let's go try them and see what the hype's like. They are really some of the lightest, fluffiest, nicest donuts I've ever eaten. I mean, honestly, they should be a whole separate category of donut. And I am seriously tempted to try and go, why has the franchise of Mr. Donut not launched in the UK? Why can I not find a Mr. Donut in the UK? Because those are really, really nice donuts. Really nice donuts. They are better. I've had donuts in America, I've had donuts in Canada, I've had donuts in Britain, I've had donuts pretty much everywhere in the world. Occasionally you pick up a donut. And I would say probably some of the nicest donuts I have ever had in my entire life are these ponderings. Thanks, full board. I'll check it when I'm having breakfast. Better than Akrulla, yes. Akrulla's good. Akrulla is very good. Please don't get me wrong, they are very nice. But the ponderings, and also the ponderings are these little sort of rings of these little ball donuts in many ways. So they're like mini donut balls. So you can eat one of them if you want to, or you can eat 4 of them if you want to at the same time. You can be they are just really, really nice. Really, really well done. And yeah. Duncan had acquired Mr. Donut in the US. Yeah, but the Mr. Donut in Japan, really, really good. And yeah, I think, honestly, Dragon, if you brought Foxo here, you would not have any trouble getting him to eat donuts. You might have trouble getting her out of Mr. Donut, but she would be eating donuts.
Of all food stuff, donuts is one of the few ones I don't think I have too much problem with getting her to eat.
Yeah. Well, here she'd probably eat so many they'd actually start constituting a food group.
All this talk of
a
donuts.
lot of chicken tikka pasties.
All this talk of donuts just makes me wish one of the local, what's called fun fairs were around, because they do, the ones that tend to pop up around here do wonderful donuts. So now I'm hungry for donuts. Yeah.
And the other thing we found out here is I myself haven't been eating a lot of them, but Dr. Dan is slowly working his way through every ship's curry he can find. And Japan Navy, that's the big thing. Ship's curries are a big thing. They are the really big things. Ship's curry is massive in Japan. Every ship has its own curry.
Now, is the ship's curry unique to each hull, or is it passed down with the nameplate?
It's evolved with each nameplate.
Okay.
So it is, to an extent, it starts off with the same original recipe, but each nameplate adds something a little bit to evolve it.
Okay.
And Japanese 7-Elevens are very different to their US counterparts. In the nicest way, Japanese 7-Elevens are an institution. They're an institution. They're also where you go to find cash, which, by the way, in Japan is, I know I've said this already in other videos, but I'm going to say this again. You need cash on you, but the ATMs, the smallest amount of cash they'll give you is 10,000 yen, which is 50 quid or $70. It's fun.
Don't remind me of the cost difference in between dollars and quid, please.
Mm-hmm. Now, YouTube Minecraft Watcher, what in the panel's opinion is the most cursed ship name? Not Val, cursed as in name either unlucky or keeps getting sunk. You personally think it's Blucher. Ooh, what do we think? What's the most cursed, sinkable name?
Anything with Titan as a base.
Do we...
Titanic.
Right. I would say a caster, because she's had a bit of a bad run of things. But actually, I think technically the one with probably the most cursed name is actually HMS Revenge. Because I'm not sure if people are familiar with how many HMS Revenge there have been, or just Revenge in English service.
Mhm.
It's not a small number. And they usually end up getting sunk in some way or another.
Okay. Mine's kind of a cheat answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 7 Provincian. Not because the fates of the ship themselves, but Europe seems to decide to start brutally mutilating itself every time one of those ships is built or being built, or they're trying to name a cruiser. That and it's sort of almost like a concentration of the flower class of if the Royal Navy names a class of ship after flowers, a world war's coming.
Yes. Please note, I am slightly worried. They have been talking about the future uncrewed, the future sloops, i.e., the uncrewed surface vessels, which are going to be assisting in task groups, being called the Black Swan class.
Now,
Normally, the class ordered just before the Flower class in Royal Navy history.
question.
Yep.
Wait a moment.
Is the Royal Navy naming their optionally crewed assets that they are planning to build because they want to beat the crews to coming up with new and inventive names that stick for them before the official ones do?
No, I'd say it's because they know if they call them the Black Swan class, that's going to give them enough of a history, and they're going to be associated enough with birds that they're going to probably get them somehow associated and affiliated with the Royal Society for Protection of Birds. And let's be honest, that's the scariest political lobbying group in the UK. The RSPB have never lost a court case, have never lost a battle with politicians. If a site is protected by the RSPB, it's like it's being protected by God. And therefore, if you get a class affiliated with them, good luck with any politicians cancelling them.
Is that the same with brain fart? Is that the same with the RSPCA?
No, the RSPCA has proved less successful because the RSPCA gets involved in lots of extra political things. The RSPB only gets involved when it's actually something which crosses their area.
So they're much better at picking their battles.
Yes. And they pick their battles, and they don't understand this concept of turning up with middling force or even minor force. If the RSPB have a battle with you, you will know because their battleships will be parked on your lawn, their aircraft carriers will be sitting over you, and their aircraft will be infesting your pants.
So if they do name them the Black Swan class, it'd be interesting to see. What's wrong, Runon?
Did I just hear the good doctor say their aircraft will be infesting your pants?
Yep.
Yes. Something wrong?
I don't know.
Basically, it's a good analogy for how invasive they go on you and how much damage you're about to sustain.
I don't know what to do with this information.
Just don't pick a fight with the RSPB. Just don't.
Help?
The RSPB are the living embodiment of a pacifist organization which has no concept of overkill.
So they are a flight. They are the ones who say, "You have activated my fight or flight response, but I'm a flightless bird."
Yes, and I also I identify as a as a Casavara.
A K bar, a cassowary with a K bar.
Yes.
It's not hard, Stafford. I am on the 7th day of 7/10s, and the 8th will start tomorrow.
Hey,
do
my
you
sister's in the
mean you're
chat.
8?
My sister's in the chat. Hi, sis.
I mean,
Wait,
I will
Bruno,
be
do you not
going
get any
back to
days
work.
off?
Yes.
I
So-
might get Tuesday and Wednesday off if it rains.
I'm still.
So,
My sister's done her
genuinely-
first ever chat. My sister's done her first ever chat in the chat.
So,
Hi,
Bruno,
Dr.
genuine-
Clarke, Civil Engineering Edition.
Weird
So-
phrases. I found bats. I found bones of protected bird species.
So
Yeah.
secondly, has she not tripped the breaker on the house yet?
No.
How long do you think it'll take?
Oh, no,
That's
we'll
a
get it
little
fixed. It'll get it
harsh.
fixed. She's good. In nicest way, we're still learning the house electrics, but she's doing well.
You shouldn't have to learn the house electrics, and I'm still not unconvinced that you don't want me to immigrate just so you can have a pocket electrician who you know that you can get to work for food.
We have a pocket electrician called Richard, who's very nice. But
Yes, but does he work for food?
No, he does work for money.
Okay, so my point stands.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
it's
Stafford, I will be on a technical sunshine only 7/10 shift until at least the 20th
Mhm.
of this month.
Oh, and this is a good question to end on. Next stream to ask questions, there'll be another. I might try and do more Bruships as we travel along. So I might not just do them on Sundays. I might do them on other days. I could do them theoretically on a Wednesday, without too much issue. And I don't sleep much anyway, so I might do it because but I'll talk it over with the flotilla leaders and the admins and go, are you happy if I do this? Will this cause you troubles? Will be every Sunday. I will definitely do a Bruships. But yeah, I might try and throw in some others and wandering along. And we might even do some lives from some of the ships, because one of the things we are talking about this, and so I cannot confirm this, but I do have an idea of doing a live from Mikasa this week with Drac, but it would be during the daytime here, so that would be sort of nighttime roughly in the UK, and it's a different time house. But the thing is, we could theoretically do a live from Mikasa because there is such good public Wi-Fi in Yokosuka. We could theoretically do a live. And
Public Wi-Fi?
yes, free access public Wi-Fi. Japan is the most cash-based society I know, and also is the most advanced society I know when it comes to public Wi-Fi. It's confusing sometimes.
Sad American noises.
Andrew Campbell, you get to send 3 books, and this is the final question for today. 3 books back from your library to Admiral Fisher upon his ascent to First Sea Lord. What would they be? That's an interesting one.
What do we class as a book here?
I think
Singular or because I've got a few things where it's the book of metallurgical engineering in some cases, or electrical engineering, but it's technically 3 books.
I would.
But it's regarded as the book.
I would say I would probably send back something like Nicholas Rogers' The Price of Victory book. I would probably send back Norman Freeman's Battleship, the British Battleships book. And
I'd probably have to go with Norman Freeman's Destroyers of Two World Wars book as well. Because if I've got those two ends, that's going to allow him to really push forward a lot of the construction. And those books have enough information they can do some divine development based on them, but they also have not so much that they're going to get locked in. If that makes sense. Jutland's Scandal could be fun, but in nicest way, the Price of Victory will probably deal with that. The Price of Victory will deal with that. How about you? All of you, what do you think? What will you send back to Fisher when he becomes first?
I have nothing that I would both want to give him or he would find valuable. And he would find valuable.
Yeah, but Runon, think of how much you could mess with him.
I don't want to mess with him though. But I
Yeah, but you
also
could get
don't
him
want him
addicted to Warhammer 40k.
Oh, or you
Fisher.
Send
Okay.
him back the codexes.
You could send him back the codex, and you
Fisher-
might believe they're real.
Yeah.
I play with Nottingham Crack. Fisher has the entire Royal Dockyard and United Kingdom dockyard infrastructure to play with. Those are not the same.
Animal 16365. The trouble is, if you send back the aircraft carrier books, as good as they could be, the power density for those for the aero engines isn't there yet, and it's going to be quite a difficult transition. Whereas you send it back to him, the battleship and destroyer books, he can get those implemented fairly easily in time for World War One. Yes, Mikasa.
And before we dip, I do want to address Stafford and Thomas, but let everybody answer first.
Okay,
So-
right. I don't know if it's technically not a book. If it's technically a book. But it is like 47,000 words of writing.
Please
And
say
I would just
you're going
want
to
to
send
see his
Wikipedia.
reaction to it. And that would be some I found on AO3.
Oh no. Oh no.
A Turpitz X Fisher historical fanfic.
We're so confused.
I am looking at Dr. Clarke's face, and I think that he is every bit as confused as I was when he said aircraft in your pants.
So, just
I think the good doctor just died a little bit on the inside.
I'm just imagining Fisher's face. Oh, that's enough horror that he will actually get himself cryogenically frozen just so he's alive to come hit you.
Actually, no. I have thought of something. If we include digital books and/or reference materials, I do technically have an archival copy of the entirety of English Wikipedia.
Oh, that'd be fun.
one I haven't actually had a full chance to read through yet, but from what I have, it's pretty amusing. Is the Royal Navy's Air Service of World War One. It has a lot of detail on various aspects of the Royal Naval Air Service and what they could do.
Yeah.
I unfortunately don't have most of the early ones. I would love to send some of the Washington design stuff. I would love to see what he would do when he saw stuff like some of the G3 prelims and such.
Oh yes.
Some of those or the K3 such as well.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I'd like to send him.
Can I just say, Alpha Aurora has just put Mikasa in the chat, and whilst I appreciate that, I am worried if you say Mikasa too many times, you'll summon Fleet to say Hosh. And it's bad enough I know that that's coming up when I go to breakfast. And this is where I find out that you guys are actually 8 hours behind me. The UK is 8 hours behind me, not 9 hours at the moment.
Nelson
if we
Vanguard
could
be interesting.
if
Go
we
ahead.
could add books to our library for the explicit purpose of giving them to Fisher, I would want to find the most academic, argumentative work that makes it as clear as possible that giving the Royal Air Force control of the Royal Naval Air Service is a really bad idea and should never ever be contemplated,
Contemplate.
just to see what Fisher does with that information.
Tony Cummings' books probably are the best ones on that because he has massively researched those all. I'd love to say my PhD thesis, but that's published soon. Finally, going to be out soon. But yeah, it's not being turned into a book. It's
As much as I roll my eyes at Fisher, I don't believe that he has a low enough wisdom score to not see an obvious bias tilt in a work that he was reading.
Yeah. He would read it.
But
he would also
now
still
that
look,
Foxo
he would still
has
look at it. Oh, there you go.
Inflicted
successfully
psychological damage.
tortured Dr. Clarke here to answer Thomas. Yeah, you know who you are.
Stafford.
No, the other one.
Oh.
I worked a 10-hour shift on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I will work a 10-hour shift tomorrow. I may work a 10-hour shift Tuesday. I may work a 10-hour shift Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, possibly Saturday, possibly Sunday. Repeat until the 20th of October on the eastern seaboard of the United States, or I die of exhaustion.
See, this is why I'm glad the UK has labour laws, because technically speaking, after 7 days, you're meant to have 1 day off. And if you choose to sign a waiver, that then moves to after 14 days, you are required by law to have 2 days off.
And on top of that 10-hour period in which I am obligated to be at work, I have it bookended by a 90-minute commute. So, for those interested, it is currently 1,900 hours in the East Coast. I have been up for 14 of those, roughly. I left the house at 5:30-ish.
Mhm.
And yes, I see the functioning insomniac looking at me through Twitch like, and this is a problem, why? But I am not a functioning insomniac. I'm just an insomniac.
It's sort of like between 11 o'clock at last night and between about 10 hours ago and 8 hours ago last night, I was in an absolutely gorgeous hot springs, which is roughly half-hour walk from here. So I walked up there, I spent about an hour in there, and then walked back. So back to the hotel by about midnight. Well, closer to quarter past midnight. And it was lovely. The hot springs were gorgeous. And then I got on with some writing once I got her back.
Unless Drac is half hidden on your channel, which would be interesting. Dragon, you have been paid a mighty compliment because apparently you are now Drakenifel.
Yes, indeed. I noted earlier that has indeed occurred.
Yes, NK, I get overtime after 40, which equates to about $60 an hour, a little less. And then I get double time after 60 and on Sundays, which equates to slightly less than $80 an hour. Okay, see, the Stafford's the one that concerns me because
You all concern me.
I know what Stafford does for a living, and I also know that in America, you literally couldn't do that. You could get your licenses pulled if you did that.
Yeah.
So, Stafford, please get some sleep. I know what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I'm moving, and I have not yet reached a stage of exhaustion where I am asleep on my feet.
That's always good to know. But I am now going to be going off and saying thank you everyone for being here. Thank you Foxo, thank you Dragon, thank you Runon, thank you everyone for being here in the chat. I'm off for breakfast. And thank you all. We are going to Monkey Island today to see the fortress, etc. We also probably, I have to admit, there is a vote live in the community section on this, a poll live, which is on whether or not I should buy a giant fluffy submarine. I will wait for the judgment of my community. I have been trying to convince myself I probably shouldn't buy it because, frankly, it actually almost is scaled to be big enough for the torpedo to be accurate proportionally. It would be a big torpedo for it, but it wouldn't be an overwhelming torpedo for it. So yes.
Doc, would you like the good news? Would you like the good news or the bad news?
What's the give me the bad news and then I'll take the good news.
94% of people agree that you should buy the thing.
Okay.
I will not say what my vote is. The good news is that 6% of your people agree that the fluffy torpedo is enough. However, CPO Fast Forward does make a good point that a fluffy torpedo without a launch vehicle is just a training aid. With oh dear God, that's
We need to get wait. Aren't you meant to be getting the big torpedo from Wargaming at some point? We need
with a plushy submarine, it becomes a weapon of fur-y.
all right. I will listen. That's where I will go buy it. I've got to buy some shoes, and I'll buy that as well.
Also, Craig Morris, if you are listening, I am fairly certain that the good doctor does have an emotional support missile on order.
Yes, I do have one on order. I ordered it a while back. It should be on order. If it's not on order, then I press the wrong buttons. But I've been getting updates, so I think it's on order. You always need an emotional support missile. And my plan is if I fly back with the submarine, it's going to be my emotional support submarine when I go on the aircraft. So I'm going to go into the flight with an emotional support submarine and might cradle in my arms. A nearly 40-year-old man doing that. It's going to be fun.
Don't worry, Animal. You could be in worse company. There are several furries in this chat. There's actually several furries in this voice call, but I'll let you figure out who's who.
Right.
Have a good day, Dr. Clarke.
Which
is weird saying that at midnight.
Yeah, I know, it's weird, but it's... let's put it this way. We've been having... And one of the things that's happened yesterday, and I'll give you all this one, is after we were managing the various crowds and organized people we got turning up yesterday at Macas and all these things, Fleet turned around and went, now I know why you all need so many people. All these people turning out to say hello to you and chat to you and all this stuff, and I'm going, yeah. This is why we bring the crew we do, because in some ways it works. And it's it's the fun is when you're down in an engine room and there are people coming down to see you and you're sort of going, I need help, or you get message from Drac going, I'm trying to film the top deck and I keep having people round me, and okay, that's okay, we can sort that out. And these things, it's how we manage it. But thank you, Archer. Thank you.
I think Drac had 3 or 4 people the last time he was stateside.
Yeah. And Foxo?
Has Fleet had anyone coming to see him?
Yes.
Probably.
But I think that
good for him.
That was personal.
We should really let him get some breakfast. Unlike you, Foxo, he needs to eat.
Well, the group have learnt this one rule. If they want to see me in a bad mood, they stop me getting food. The one point where Fleet was probably most in danger of actually getting in actual physical trouble with me, was when he didn't understand that we were waiting for him to go get food because we thought he was coming, and he actually wasn't coming, and this was a confusion, and this meant I was waiting to get food rather than getting food, and I was hungry.
A classic Fleet miscommunication.
And this was the point at which Fleet came closest to suffering from being a victim of cannibalism. Because getting between me and food when I'm hungry means you become food. There is a lot of my corgi in me, and me and my corgi.
So what you're saying is that if we combine you and Foxo we get Amazon's perfect worker.
Yes. Oh,
I'm
anyway.
going to mute myself now until you can
You
Take
will
care.
unplug
live
screen.
in the
Take
pod
care.
and eat the bugs.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for being here, and hope to see you again soon. And I'll try and do a couple of extra Bruships if I can as we go along, because I think they're nice things to chat about stuff as we're going on. And if we can do something live from some of the preserve ships, that'd be spectacular. Take care, everyone. Have fun, and thanks for being here.